Hi everyone, in today's tutorial we're going to learn how to make this beautiful dart manipulation color block dress. If that is what you want to learn how to make for yourself, the front pattern, the back pattern, and also the sleeve pattern inclusive, and also that cape, every detail of how to make this dress, then keep watching this tutorial to the very end. Firstly, you'll be needing your basic bodice front, also your basic bodice back in full as mine, as you can see, and also your sleeve. Okay, haven't done that, we are going to be setting the back and the sleeve aside so we can work with the front. Now this is what your basic bodice front should look like, of course, from top to wherever you want the length of your dress to stop. Then you will get your sleeve. You're going to be attaching the front sleeve to the bodice like so. If you've been following my channel, you know I always do this whenever I want to get an off shoulder. So I'm trying to make the center sleeve visible. Very, very important. You want to make sure your center sleeve is visible. So on the center sleeve, I'm going to be attaching it to the shoulder like so, and I'll be using my sellotape to hold it down. At this point, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do want to subscribe. Click the bell notification icon so you'll be notified whenever I post lovely tutorials like this. Now on the center sleeve, I'm going to be marking 2 inches. That is how off I want the off shoulder to be at the sleeve part of it. For the depth of my neckline for the front, I went ahead to use 2.5 inches. This is optional. You can use whatever that works for you, but do not go too deep. So I'll go ahead to join those points together to make kind of curved line or a straight line, and this is what it looks like. Now this part I'm marking as terrace, we are going to be taking them out. Of course, it's an off shoulder. We're going to be taking it out. Now, if you take it out just like that, it's going to gap. So to avoid the gapping, you want it to come out nice, just like the one we're recreating. You're going to contour. I've drawn my first contour line, and this is the second one at the neckline and the first close to the shoulder. Now, the next thing we're going to do is to mark our bust arc. Your bust arc is the measurement between your bust point to your under bust. We're going to be marking our bust arc on those lines, on those contour lines. So having marked that now, our dart is going to be sitting on the bust arc. Your dart of 0.5 inches is going to be sitting on the bust arc. After doing that, you want to connect that point to the bust point like so, and then back to the neckline like so. Same thing we are going to be doing to this part, or to the contour dart at the shoulder point. You're going to be connecting to the bust point, back to the shoulder or close to the shoulder like so. So this is what your pattern should look like at this point. Next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and use my scissors and cut out the part which we do not need. Since it's an off shoulder, we're going to be cutting out the part that we do not need. Then when I get to the sleeve, on the center sleeve, I'm going to be cutting it like so. Remember, we have not worked on the back, so our back sleeve is still in full, as you can see. Now this is what your pattern looks like at this point. The next thing I'm going to do is to get the measurement or the length of the cape. Remember, there is a cape on this dress, okay? The length of the cape. Now I'm using 4 inches. The length of the cape is optional for you, but from the design we are recreating, it did not get to our under bust. I think it's somewhere around the bust point, or maybe 1 inch below the bust point. Now for the sleeve part, the length of the cape at the sleeve part is also up to you. You can do whatever works for you. So I've marked mine, then I'll go ahead to join the points together from the cape of the sleeve to that of the depth or the length at the center front. I'll go ahead and join them together like so. After joining them, this is what my own looks like. All right, so I'm going to be tracing out the whole of that cape. We're going to be tracing it out. So I'll go ahead to trace it off camera and I'll come back and show you guys. Can you see I've traced out the cape? Now, if you watch closely, there are dots in the foundation pattern. I only included the contour dots and the bust apart line. Now, the waist dart, I did not include it. And I will tell you later as we go on. Now, the reason why I included this dart is because we are going to be closing it up in the foundation pattern. And if you close it up in the foundation pattern without closing it up on the cape pattern, the length of the cape pattern is going to be bigger than that of the foundation pattern. So it will now make you, when you're sewing it, you start trying to squeeze it in. So you have to make everything to be accordingly. All right, so I went ahead now to label center sleeve, center front. Just label whatever is necessary so you do not forget. right? Having done that, I'm going to be detaching the sleeve from the bodice. Now let's work on the bodice first. We'll still go back to the cape so we can close up those contour dots. But let's work on the bodice first. Now I'm marking 1 inch on my chest line. Now I went down to my waistline, I marked 1.5 inches. On my hip line, I marked 1.5 inches. I'll go ahead and join those points together. Now from the hemline, I will come upwards by 2 inches. And I'll square a line across like so. On that line, I'll be marking out 1.5 inches. And I'll connect it to the one at the hip point. Then from here, I'll connect to the one at the chest line. So at this point, this is what we have. I'll go ahead now to start cutting this out. Firstly, I detached the 2 inches point, or the 2 inches one. Then I went ahead to start cutting out this part of it. So at this point, I realized that some persons might not want to sew up their darts. Maybe your fabric is kind of too stretchy, or you don't even want to see the dart at all. Now, if that is your case, I got you, okay? What you're going to do now is you're going to be eliminating that dart. You want to measure the width of your dart and place it at your side seam, at your side like so. Also measure the length of your dart and take that measurement at the side like so. Then go ahead with your ruler and connect those points together. Of course, the one for the upper part is getting to the bust point line. You also want to connect it together. And at that point, you're going to be cutting out that part, meaning you have eliminated the dart. There's no dart again on this pattern. You don't have to sew up any waist dart on this pattern. The only dart we have left is our side bust dart, and we're coming to that. So I haven't cut it out. Since there's no dart, I'm going in with my eraser to erase the dart that we already have. So the pattern looks, there's no dart on the pattern, okay? I don't get confused. And you too, you don't get confused. So I'm going ahead to clean it out now. So back to what we were doing before, I'll go ahead and start cutting it out. You can decide that you want this part I'm cutting now, yours to be bolder. I think you can use 3 inches. I've made something like this on the channel. I'll probably put the link in the description box or in the comment section. So I think that one I used 3 inches, so you can just go check it out. Now the side bust that went into this part, so we don't want to do all those kind of things here. I don't know what's going to look like if you start sewing here. So I'm just going to be cutting it out, and then I will tape it down like this so that it forms a whole piece. You don't have to sew anything. It forms a whole piece, right? So now this part is settled. Now we're coming over to this part. The side bust that also is here, and our contour darts are here. We've not removed them. Now to eliminate the contour dart, what we're going to do is, or to close up, we're going to be closing up the contour darts rather. We'll cut open the side bust dart, and then of course cut the contour dart open, close it and transfer the excess to the side bust dart. Tip it down. Same thing we're going to be doing to the other one. So now we've closed up our contour darts. So our off shoulder is not going to gap. It's going to be sitting pretty. So you're going to be sewing up this part like so. Can you see that? And then it's in alignment with this part. Okay, when you're joining this part, it's going to align. Can you see that? This is basically the off shoulder pattern for the front. Let's head to the cape. Let's work on the cape. Now we are going to be closing up the contour dart also, so that when we are sewing the cape onto the front bodice, it is going to be the same measurement. You want to cut on that side, on that nipple to nipple measurement or bust apart measurement, then transfer all the darts to that line. I'm going to be closing this up. Same thing to that, the other one. We're going to be transferring all the darts to that line, to the bust apart measurement line. So I haven't done that now. This part is open. Now you know this part is just hanging on the body. So it's free. It doesn't really require to be fitted. It's free. I don't know if you get. So I added a fresh pattern paper to kind of make it look okay. And then cut out the excess. So that's all for the cape. Okay, this is what your cape should look like. I also went ahead to through that part of it. You can just do this on your fabric while cutting, just to make sure that the line is together or is correct. The line, the shape is regular, not irregular, yeah. So you can just do that on your fabric too. If you don't want to do it on the pattern, you can treat it on your fabric when you start cutting. By the time you place the pattern on your fabric to cut, you can do that. So this is what your front cape looks like. Now for that design, that color block design, I'm coming in by 1 inch. Then I'll come down by 1.5 inches. Here also 1.5 inches. We're going to be joining those points together. We're going to be joining everything together like I'm doing right now. Join everything together like so. So remember where your center front is. You have to cut on fold. Please do not forget. Remember, just label carefully your center front, the center sleeve, where you're cutting on fold and all that. Okay, so don't worry, as we keep on going, I'll bring all the patterns together and explain the cutting process and everything to you. So this is what the front cape looks like. Now heading to the back pattern. This is the back pattern. Now we're going to get our sleeve, and of course for the part of the back, we'll tape it down like so. Now the next thing you're going to do is to measure the depth of your back of shoulder. Measure the depth of your back of shoulder. Here I'm using 3 inches. Also, do not go too deep. Of course, the sleeve is already in alignment with that of the front. So same 2 inches. You now join it to the depth of your back. We're also going to be taking that part off. Since it's an off shoulder, we're also going to be taking that part off. So with my scissors, I'm going ahead to cut it out now. Now, backs usually do not gap, especially when the neckline is not deep for the back. But if you're skeptical about your back gapping, this is what you're going to do to contour it. At that point of the armhole, you want to mark between 0 to 0.5. Please do not use more than 0 to 0.5. Between 0 to 0.5 inch, you're going to be marking, then curve it into the armhole like so. The back does not usually gap, but if you're skeptical that your back is going to gap for whatsoever reason, you are just do this. So this is what it looks like. Now I'm going to be getting the length of the cape for the back. I used 4 inches for the front. Whatever you want to use for the back is optional, okay? But the thing is that the sleeve part must align. So I have to use that of the front to get that of the back also, the point of the front to get the point of the back. So for the length of the center back cape, I decided to go in with 3.5 inches. You can do whatever works for you, please. Whatever is optional, I'm going to tell you. This one, the measurement is optional. You can do whatever you want, all right? So I joined them together, and this is what it looks like. We also go ahead to trace it out like we traced out that of the front. Now I've traced it out. While tracing this part out, there are a lot of things to put into consideration. Remember, you contoured some part of your armhole area. You have to cut it out. Then make sure you put this together. If possible, use your tape and hold it down, because you have to sew this on top of it and the lengths have to be in check. All right. I don't know if you understand, but I hope you understand. You do. So having done that, I've set the cape aside. Let's work on the back bodies. We're going to be getting that part which is white. It was at the point of making this pattern I realized that I actually colored wrongly. I colored the part which is supposed to be white, I colored it black, and the part which is supposed to be black, I colored it white. But that's not the problem. You can use any color of your fabric for this very particular design. Just make sure you get the process right. So same 2 inches, we'll square the line. Like I said, for that white part of it, this part now that I'm joining, this 1.5 inches part, you can use whatever works for you. 3 inches I think will be okay. I will drop a tutorial link to one of the videos I made that looks similar like this in the comment section or in the description box, so you can go check it out. I mentioned how many inches I used in that video, so you can go and check it out. So at this point, this is what it looks like. So we're also going to be eliminating the waist dart for this one because we do not want to sew up the dart. We're going to be eliminating the waist dart. Same process for the front. You want to measure the width of your dart and also the length of your dart at the waistline. At the waistline, you want to measure the width of the dart and also the length of the dart. Then use your ruler and join the points together. So you guys, this is what it looks like. I'll go ahead to erase the darts because there's no longer dart on this pattern. I'll go ahead to erase the dart. So I did some labeling center back. Did some labeling so I do not forget. Okay, you have to label properly so you do not forget when you're transferring the pattern to your fabric. Okay, and also while you're sewing, so you know, just make sure you label. And then when you've transferred or when you're transferring the pattern to the fabric, mark notches where necessary. So when you're joining, it makes it easier for you. So this is what the back pattern looks like. Now for the cape of the back, we're going to be doing the same thing we did to the front. Okay, you want to come in by 1 inch. Then come down by 1.5 inches. Also here at the center back, 1.5 inches. And you join everything together. So I did some labeling again, center back, and all that. So this is what your cape for the back should look like. Now you're going to be joining the cape of the back and front together before you cut on your fabric. You see that center sleeve? Use your sellotape and hold it down. So that center sleeve should be one piece. The only part you're allowed to cut separately are the black parts. Okay, so you join this together at the center sleeve with your sellotape so it forms one piece. Now do not forget, Your center front, you are to cut it on fold. Center front, you are to cut it on fold, this part. Then this is where you have your zipper, if you want zipper to be at the cape or whatever. So that is it. Now for the sleeve proper, this is what we are going to do. We're going to be marking 2 inches upwards. Now on the top of the sleeve, we're going to be marking 1 inch apart at the center of the sleeve, 1 inch apart. On the upper arm, same thing. At the elbow line, same thing. Down to this 2 inches point, same thing. So use your ruler to join them together, 1 inch apart. You can make yours 1.5 inches apart. That will still be okay. So after cutting, this is what your sleeve should look like. The center one is the black, the rest are white. Okay. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next tutorial. Bye.